When a Nobel or a Booker Prize winner gets announced, the headline is always pretty simple, right? One person, one book. But what if the real story isn't about the winner at all? Today, we're going to dig into what these awards tell us about a massive shift in the stories our entire world is choosing to celebrate. Right. So if we think of these prestigious awards as, say, cultural barometers, what are they telling us about our global identity, our history, and our future? The answer, it turns out, is a story of absolutely radical change. So let's just start with one single striking number. In just the last 5 years, there has been a 45% jump in major prize winners from the Global South. And we're talking about writers from Africa, South Asia, Latin America. This isn't just some small trend, you guys. It's a seismic shift in whose stories are finally getting a global stage. And that leads us to our first big trend, the emergence of a brand new global canon. The whole idea of literary prestige is being, democratized, and it is completely rewriting the old rules of what makes a great book. And this, right here, this gets to the absolute heart of the change. For decades, the universal story was kind of code for a Western, and let's be honest, a predominantly white male perspective. But now, the new currency is the specific. Readers, critics were all demanding cultural authenticity, and we're celebrating stories that are deeply rooted in unique viewpoints and histories. I mean, just take the 2021 Nobel laureate, Abdul-Razak Gurnah. His win wasn't just for beautiful writing. No way. It was a validation of his entire career, spent exploring the painful legacies of colonialism, themes that were once considered kind of niche, but are now recognized as absolutely essential to our global conversation. And this focus on global ethics has become a hallmark of these huge awards. Look at a writer like Han Kang. Her work consistently grapples with the really specific traumas of South Korean history. And by doing that, she's able to explore these profound truths about human fragility and resilience that, it turns out, resonate across every culture. So how are all these specific, culturally rich stories reaching a global audience? Well, that's the engine driving this whole thing. And it's our next point, the incredible boom in translated fiction. It has become a literary powerhouse in its own right. For a lot of people, the real turning point was the 2022 International Booker win for Gitanjali Shree's Tomb of Sand. It was the first time a novel translated from an Indian language, in this case Hindi, had ever won the prize, and it sent absolute shockwaves through the publishing world. This win created what people now call the Gitanjali Shree effect. Suddenly, global publishers weren't just looking for the next easily digestible story. They began actively scouting for experimental, ambitious novels from regional Indian languages, seeing them not as curiosities, but as high art. And this has completely elevated the role of the translator. The new trend is towards something called thick translation. Translators like the amazing Daisy Rockwell are making an ethical choice to preserve the cultural and linguistic texture of the original, even if it's difficult. They're asking the reader to travel to the text instead of having the text remade for them. And hey, this isn't just a global thing. Within India, the super influential JCB Prize for Literature basically acts as a translational bridge. By requiring translated works on its shortlist, it makes sure that the best of India's diverse Bahasha, or regional language literature, gets the national spotlight it deserves. Okay, so this brings us to our final trend, and it's where all of these ideas really converge. We're seeing this powerful global movement where literature is being used as a form of witness, a way to confront the unfinished and often really painful business of history. In the United States, for example, the Pulitzer Prize has been right at the forefront of this, rewarding novels that go in and excavate what they call buried archives. These books are challenging those simple, celebratory stories about the American past, especially when it comes to race. And the Nobel Prize echoes this exact idea, calling it an aesthetics of witnessing. It celebrates authors who act as chroniclers of our collective memory, whose small personal stories become a public record that stands up against the official histories written by the big state. Then you have the Booker Prize, which shows us just how diverse the tools for this witnessing can be. Shihan Karunatilaka's winning novel used magic realism and dark satire, not just straightforward realism, to bear witness to the ghosts and traumas of the Sri Lankan Civil War. A perfect case study of this whole thing is Percival Everett's Pulitzer-winning novel, James. Okay, so what he does is he takes a foundational American text,
Huckleberry Finn, but he centers the voice of the enslaved man, Jim. He gives him this brilliant, hidden intellectual life. This is the very definition of writing back, dismantling a master narrative to reveal the humanity it tried to erase.
So what's the big picture here? Let's tie all these trends together and see why this matters for every single one of us as readers. Okay, so if you remember just 3 things from all this, let it be these. First, literary prestige is no longer a Western monopoly. It's going global. Second, translation isn't just a technical skill anymore. It's a celebrated creative and ethical act. And third, the novel has become one of our most powerful tools for telling the truth and confronting our history. And underpinning all of this is another just profound shift. Get this, roughly 60% of the winners of major international literary prizes in just the last 5 years have been women. The demographic change in who gets to tell our stories isn't coming. It's already here. And that leaves us with one final vital question. As the old canons start to crumble and new voices rise up, literature itself is being redefined. So the real question isn't just for prize committees, it's for all of us. Whose stories will you choose to read? Because those are the stories that are going to define our future.